All right. Orphique is a, let's call it just an atmospheric or melodic black metal band out of Quebec, Montreal, Quebec. And this is, in some ways, it's a typical Quebecois black metal record in the sense that it is heavily melodic, it is heavily atmospheric, it is austere, it is a little bit melancholic. Actually, well, let me say that again. It's very melancholic, and that's sort of the point of this very poetically driven album, which is um, put together by an artist who has featured in both sort of melodic death metal records and on some sort of post black metal records. And they have sort of a progressive bent to the staff of the record, who he's put on here, come from bands who are very capable, and their performances are exceptionally fine on this record. So the effect is a what reads as a progressive black metal record because it is so there's accoutrement up out the gills for this thing, and it is very deeply layered and performed in such a professional manner. The recording is especially fine, and I think a lot of that it comes a little bit secondary to the strength of the melodies, which sell themselves pretty quickly into this album. Uh, but you'll notice that, yeah, the bass is very prominent and very skilled in performance. The guitar performances are especially fine, and the drumming comes from the current drummer from Deviant Process, which is a pretty impressive band if you follow them. So uh, they describe this. There wasn't a lot of information given on this record, and the one note that they give is that it sort of recalls the style of melodic black metal found on a collaboration between Sombre Foray and Gris. And um, yeah, that makes sense. I think this is uh, much more emotionally driven in a more direct way, and I think thanks to the David Potter's vocals, which are impassioned, a little bit crazed, very expressive throughout the whole thing, but not in a desperately squawking sort of way. You know, there's a little bit of like a goblinish rest register on the last song, but most of it is uh, believably expressed. And for me, this really started to hit on Vampirique. I think that is probably one of the best songs on the album, just for its the progression of the piece. But the whole thing really, the first 18 minutes, the first two songs, are really what carries the record for me, and the grand finale of the final song. There are a couple songs in the middle, which I get them, and you know the lead single is in there too. Uh, but they really weren't as important to me per my own enjoyment as those three other songs. So um, yeah, so what is there of note here that you wouldn't just pick up on immediately? I think the acoustic guitar work on here is notable and more as a functional uh, addition to the folkish warmth of the drama happening here, but also just giving a little bit of a organic voice to what is that can sometimes feel like a almost too buttoned up of a performance for a black metal record. Uh, so I think the emotional resonance of this record is more important than the propriety of it, but that's still what, and just how nicely that they've achieved this as a debut. It really counts for a lot here. So that factors into my recommendation. It wasn't as if I had an emotional breakthrough listening to this record so much as I really appreciated the romanticist beauty of it all, the poetic affect, and how what they were singing about, how they were singing it, really matched the music that they'd written for it. I think it feels like a very complete, very well rounded experience in that sense, where you're really getting um, the statement from the artist in a very direct and profound way. And, black metal be damned. Basically, it's just about the level of expression that comes through, and the artist realizing what he's feeling and wanted to produce here. So I found that was kind of like what set it over the edge for me, is considering just the statement on top of the level of quality of performance and render and all that. So I think it's one of the more interesting black metal records of November, and we're checking out. So there you go.